Some breaking news right now. Disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein has taken his own life while he was behind bars here in New York City. Epstein was facing trafficking charges and
has a right to express herself just like anyone else does. Except sometimes when you're a parent, that has to be secondary to how that right of expression is going to impact your relationship with your kids.
March 4th, 2026. Just after 9:30 at night, the California Highway Patrol spotted a black BMW weaving on a Ventura County road. Dispatch audio captured officers calling for every unit in the area. Britney Spears failed field sobriety tests, was booked, and spent the night in jail. A court date was set for May 4th. And here is where your stomach should drop. She had just gotten out of a 13-year conservatorship that treated her like a legal non-person. That arrangement started in 2008 after just 2 psychiatric holds within weeks of each other. 2 holds, 1 DUI, 1 more incident. And the pattern matches exactly what locked her up the first time. So ask yourself right now why Epstein Associates, the Kardashians, and a business manager named Lou Taylor keep showing up every single time her life looks unstable.
This woman was forced into a conservatorship. I personally believe she was having a breakdown because the paparazzi wouldn't leave her alone and she wanted privacy. Let's not laugh at what happened to Britney Spears. I think she's lived through a lot, and I say that as someone who just has the most compassion in my heart for artists like that because of the things that Kanye told me personally and attempted to tell the world. Was everybody laughed and mocked.
The conservatorship ran from February 2008 to November 2021. 13 years of her father controlling her money, her medical decisions, her career, and even whether she could take a bath in private. When a judge finally terminated it, her own lawyer, Matthew Rosengart, stood there and said her wish for freedom was now truly complete. That was April 2024. Less than 1 year later, she was arrested for DUI. So do not tell me this is just another celebrity relapse story. The original conservatorship did not require a criminal conviction. It required a pattern. 2 psychiatric holds. That was it. Now she has a DUI, a pending court date, and the same people who profited from her captivity are still standing exactly where they were when that cage door first locked. Now look at why that question is not paranoid. In January 2008, 15 days before the conservatorship even existed, Lou Taylor wrote an email. She said she had talked to Jamie Spears' lawyers about TriStar serving as co-conservators. The firm that would later manage millions from her estate wanted formal control before the legal structure was even built. Then, days before Jamie Spears went to court, TriStar loaned him at least $40,000. A legal expert later said that loan reeked of conflict of interest. Taylor's attorney called the email materially misleading, but they did not deny its authenticity. The email exists. The loan exists. And the woman who wrote that email is still in business, still managing money for some of the biggest names in entertainment. So follow the money. Court documents from 2020 and 2021 list Lou Taylor as the legal agent for multiple Kardashian-Jenner businesses. Kim Kardashian's KKW Fragrance, Kylie Jenner's King Kylie LLC, Kris Jenner's Family Foundation, Kendall Jenner's 818 Tequila, and even Travis Scott's Cactus Jack all funneled through the same firm that tried to become co-conservator for Britney Spears. And here is where the public performance gets ugly. In 2021, while the Free Britney movement was peaking, the Kardashians posted support, talked about it, and stood with her publicly. Go back and look at the posts. They wanted credit for supporting her, but at the exact same time, Lou Taylor was a guest at Kris Jenner's birthday party. You stand with Britney Spears on social media. You celebrate the woman who allegedly built her cage in private. That is not a contradiction. That is a tell.
That was crazy, that was a whole different lifestyle than I ever imagined, That was not, just getting around from place to place and having 20 people follow you all day long.
And now watch what happened after the DUI. She refused to go into treatment for weeks. A close friend told News Nation exactly why. She has very big trust issues. She will not sign anything anymore because of the last conservatorship. She will not sign anything anymore. The trauma from 13 years of being told what to sign, what to agree to, and what to consent to has made her unable to accept the one thing that could keep her free: structured help, documented treatment, and a plan that would show a court she is managing her own life. But she cannot trust the people offering it. And honestly, after everything that has been done to her, can you blame her? That is the trap. If she accepts help, she risks losing autonomy to the same kind of legal managerial structure that controlled her for 13 years. If she refuses help, she risks producing the pattern of incidents that could trigger a court to impose that structure anyway. There is no clean exit. Her former attorney, Matthew Rosengart, the one who fought to free her, no longer represents her. Her father is legally settled, but not an ally. Her ex-husband, Kevin Federline, who was never a Free Britney supporter, published a memoir in October 2025 warning she was racing towards something irreversible. He said his biggest fear was that their sons would be left holding the pieces. Later, the DUI happened. The person dismissed as a bitter ex may have been the one telling the truth the whole time. And then there is the media coverage. TMZ is leading the charge on the DUI story. They are getting family interviews, running quotes from exes, and pushing a narrative that she is going off the rails again. But here is the detail that should make you pause. Jeffrey Epstein reportedly said on record that Harvey Levin, the CEO of TMZ, was a good friend of his. The same outlet that built its brand on celebrity scandals, and that has been first on every Britney crisis for years, has a documented personal connection to a convicted trafficker. I'm not saying TMZ's coverage is coordinated, but when an outlet with that connection leads the charge on a story about a woman whose conservatorship was built by people connected to the same networks, you are allowed to ask questions.
When it came to Maxwell, it was about the idea, right, they would bring these girls in and then they would have them recruit other girls, and that was kind of the network that was being built up. From a prosecutorial point of view, from a legal point of view, somebody's looking at this and saying, wait a minute, I'm looking at these filings and they're identifying certain people or they're redacting certain other people, and they say there's not enough evidence to charge this person or limited evidence regarding involvement. What does that mean? So for a layperson.
Now let me tell you about the legal reality. A single DUI is typically not enough for a new conservatorship. Los Angeles probate attorney Rowdy Kaufman said courts require medical evidence, expert testimony, and proof that less restrictive options would not work. That is the official answer. But the original 2008 conservatorship started after just 2 psychiatric holds. Not convictions, not criminal charges, 2 holds. That is the precedent. She has 1 DUI. She checked into voluntary treatment on April 12th, but she refused to go for weeks. If she leaves early, has another incident, or does something else that looks like instability, the pattern is dangerously close to matching. Kaufman also said the bar is higher now post-Britney. But high bars do not stop people who have already cleared them once. So where does that leave us? A woman who fought 13 years to escape legal control is now trapped in a paradox she did not create. The people who publicly supported her are privately tied to the woman who helped build her cage. The outlet covering her crisis has a reported connection to Jeffrey Epstein. Her ex-husband's warning came true. Her own trauma response is blocking the help she needs. None of this means the DUI was orchestrated. Let me be clear about that. There is no document saying someone planned this. But it also does not mean it was random. The network around her has not gone away. Lou Taylor still manages Kardashian money. TriStar is still in business. TMZ is still covering her. The only thing that has changed is that her legal protection is gone. Now think about what happens next. May 4th is coming. That court date is not going away. And while we are all watching that calendar, the DOJ is reaching out to interview Ghislaine Maxwell in prison. The House Oversight Committee approved a subpoena. A victim complaint has already accused the Kardashians of collaboration with Epstein's network. They call Maxwell the Rosetta Stone. She knows everything. If she talks, names come out. And some of those names are connected to Lou Taylor. And some of those names are connected to the people who claim they want to help Britney Spears.
And there was new names in some of the emails that I think investigators need to look at. In particular, I jumped on the name of a modeling agent who, in a similar fashion to Jean-Luc Jean-Luc Brunel, who brought underage girls from overseas to Jeffrey Epstein for abuse. There was another man. What was interesting about this other individual is that he also apparently provided young models for Donald Trump's modeling agency.
So here is the question that hangs over all of this. If the people who publicly supported her are privately tied to her alleged abusers, who can she actually trust? She cannot trust the system that trapped her. She cannot trust the media covering her. She cannot trust the people who celebrated the woman who built her cage. And her own trauma will not let her sign the one piece of paper that might keep her free. That is not a conspiracy. That is a tragedy wearing a celebrity scandal disguise. The Epstein files. Everyone heard the noise about 115 mentions and cloning. That was junk. Debunked. But something real got buried under all that. An email from a UCLA professor named Mark Tramo to Jeffrey Epstein discussing a project relating to Britney Spears. Not a random name drop. A project. While she was locked inside the UCLA Resnick Psychiatric Hospital, the same university system where Tramo worked, that is not a viral conspiracy. That is a document. And no one has ever explained what the project was.
She talks about her time that she spent with Ghislaine Maxwell, and she said she's like the most pure, evil woman. She had no remorse for the victims when, you know, stuff about Jeffrey Epstein would come up on like the news in prison, that she's just a very cold, evil person.
Is she going back on this Housewife show?
No. Andy's adamant.
Mark Tramo specialized in neurology and music research. His emails with Epstein talk about funding logistics and moving something forward. The file mentions her child custody situation. It mentions a neonatal ICU project tied to her name. Nobody has explained that either. But here is what we know. Epstein was corresponding about Britney Spears while she was held against her will in a psychiatric ward. The same ward where her own father had placed her under the conservatorship. Epstein, the conservatorship, and a UCLA professor all circling the same person at the same time. And we are supposed to believe the DUI was just random. Now watch how the media plays its part. TMZ has been first on every Britney crisis for years. They broke the DUI. They got the family interviews. They pushed the narrative that she is spiraling again. But here is the detail that changes how you read their coverage. Jeffrey Epstein reportedly said on record that Harvey Levin, the CEO of TMZ, was a good friend. Epstein said it. That is not anonymous. So ask yourself why the same outlet with a documented tie to Epstein keeps getting the inside track every single time she stumbles. I'm not saying TMZ is running a coordinated campaign, but when an outlet with that connection controls the story, you stop treating the coverage like neutral reporting. Then there is Ghislaine Maxwell. And this is where the story turns into something that has not even happened yet. The DOJ is reaching out to interview her in prison right now. In April 2026, the House Oversight Committee had already approved a subpoena for her testimony. People who have followed this case for years call Maxwell the Rosetta Stone. She knows everything, every trip, every arrangement, every person Epstein brought into his world. A victim complaint filed in the Maxwell case has already accused the Kardashian sisters of maintaining a close friendship with Maxwell and Epstein, collaborating to exploit the victim's identity for financial gain. That complaint is on file with federal authorities. It is not proven, but it is sitting there.
Brings it all together with a bow for her, doesn't it? She probably wants to get out early. So I think that we have more digging to do. I think the DOJ transparency effort here is the right thing. But the reason it's on a Friday, Will, is I think there are no smoking guns. There's other places we have to look.
Imagine the pressure building. The same firm that loaned Jamie Spears $40,000 days before the conservatorship began is still handling millions for the Kardashian business empire. Court documents confirm that. And now the federal government is about to sit down with the one person who can confirm or deny whether that victim complaint has any truth to it. If Ghislaine Maxwell talks, names come out. Some of those names are already sitting in a complaint about the Kardashians. You do not need to be a conspiracy theorist to see why everyone connected to this story should be nervous. Here is where it gets even stranger. That same management firm, TriStar, later represented Sean Combs, who is currently in federal custody. A civil lawsuit against Combs named a TriStar director as someone who ensured payments to workers. The same firm, the same pattern. Control, money, and people in power using management structures to keep vulnerable people trapped. Britney Spears was not an isolated case. She was the template. The people who learned how to build that cage for her took those skills to other clients. The DOJ is already looking at Combs. Maxwell is about to be interviewed. The question is whether anyone starts connecting the dots between all of these cases. Now think about the timing. The DOJ reaches out to Maxwell in the same month Britney Spears checks into treatment. The same month her court date is looming. The same month the victim complaint about the Kardashians is sitting in federal files waiting for someone to ask about it. None of these things happened in isolation. They are all happening at the same time. And the woman who could connect them is sitting in a prison cell, 20 years into her sentence, with nothing left to lose. That is not a coincidence. That is a pressure cooker.
The Bureau of Prisons gets to decide. The Bureau of Prisons is run independently from the FBI, from the U.S. Attorney's Office, from the judiciary, and who knows where the person's going to go. That's just how it happens. Right. So for Ghislaine Maxwell to have been transferred to actually a prison that has very, very minimal security and is just not fit for someone who's been convicted of horrible crimes.
Maxwell has already served years. She has no future outside those walls for a long time. If the DOJ offers her anything, even just the chance to tell her side, she could start naming names. Those names could include people who have never been publicly connected to Epstein before. The victim complaint already named the Kardashians. Whether that complaint is true or not, the fact that it exists means Maxwell can be asked about it directly under oath, with prosecutors listening. That is how federal interviews work. And the DOJ has already said they intend to meet with her soon. But here is the part that nobody is talking about enough. The Kardashians have never been charged. They have never been deposed. They have never had to answer for why their business empire was funneling through the same firm that tried to become co-conservator for Britney Spears. That may change, not because of a viral tweet, but because of a federal interview with the one person who knows where everybody is buried. Maxwell does not need to prove anything. She just needs to talk. Then the DOJ decides what to do next.
What I've gathered from your articles, this seems to be a global network that Epstein was a part of, and I believe there are multiple Epsteins. Like, I don't believe that Jeffrey Epstein was the head of the snake. Yeah, like, you know, they never go after the head of the snake. They never go after
the head of the snake, quote unquote, are just, it's the billionaire class, and so there's a faction of these billionaires in our oligarchy. And of course, the American oligarchy, you know, the American oligarchs don't necessarily, a lot of them don't have an allegiance necessarily to the United States.
Meanwhile, the people who say they want to help Britney Spears are still doing business with the same firm. An anonymous source told Star magazine that the Kardashians want to help her reinvent herself on their show, that they would never let her look bad, and that she needs structure. Structure, the same word every conservatorship advocate has used for 2 decades. We just want to give her structure. We just want to help her. And the person who would be providing that structure is still connected to the same management firm that loaned her father money days before he locked her up. Now bring it back to the core crisis. May 4th is weeks away. That court date is not going to disappear. She is one incident away from matching the 2008 pattern that triggered the original conservatorship. 2 psychiatric holds then. 1 DUI now. She is in voluntary treatment, but she refused to go for weeks because she will not sign anything anymore. The trust is gone. The people who could help her are the same people she cannot trust. And the people who say they want to help her are connected to the people who built her cage.
Part of my adult life, turning the other cheek in response to attacks on me. When our children are attacked, I found the need to set the record straight to be overwhelmed.
So, where does that leave us? The Epstein email sits in the files. The Maxwell interview is coming. The Kardashians have not answered for their business relationship with Lou Taylor. TMZ has not explained why Epstein considered its founder a good friend. Britney Spears is still trying to stay free while the same network that surrounded her in 2008 is still in position. Still watching, still waiting for her to fall. None of this means the DUI was planned, but it also does not mean she is safe. Here is what I want to ask you. Do you think Maxwell actually talks when the DOJ sits down with her? And if she does, what happens to the people whose names come out? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you want us to track the Maxwell interview as it develops, because this story is not over. We will keep watching. Stay tuned.